The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. How are you, Shannon?
I'm so thrilled to be here with you two beautiful ladies, but I'm kind of stunned by the beauty. Both of you look fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Shannon. You look fantastic too.
As to you, Nancy, we're reflecting back on you, Shannon.
There, well, I mean, those earrings, Vena.
And that headdress.
I know, it's just all stunning. So I guess we should all introduce ourselves. I'm Shannon Penrod.
I'm Nancy Allspaw Jackson.
Vena Tiero.
And we're thrilled to have Vena here this morning because as we were going through our news stories for today, we realized, oh, we have somebody that's the living, breathing embodiment of part of what we're talking about in one of the news stories. And on a very last minute notice, Nancy reached out to Vena and she said, yes, I'm going to be there. So I don't know, like Vena, I sort of want you to open this topic up and talk about what you've been going through and what it's been like for you. What's going on?
Well, we, in 2015 made the hard choice to put our son in a group home. And, that's tough enough as it is. And we decide to, do what's best for the family at large. And so I visit him once a week, sometimes more when my schedule permits. And as soon as the pandemic hit, we just hunkered in and imagined, we were told initially, 6 weeks? Yeah. And, mentally you figure, oh, I could do that 6 weeks. Zoom became our friend. And I, rationalized that I'm seeing him perhaps a little bit more, 2 or 3 times via video chat. But it's difficult for our children on the spectrum because they're also going to school on a screen. So the group home informed me that he tenses up every time they open the laptop. He's got school, he's got different classes, he's got therapies, his speech and his OT, all on Zoom. And then when mom comes in, I'm hoping to get this jolly guy. I don't always get the jolly guy, but we still put our time in. But time has flown by. Yeah. First it was the 6 weeks, then it was another 4 weeks. Well, right now we are coming up on 4 months without any human touch. It's very difficult.
Very difficult, Dana.
And difficult for everybody. I mean, it's difficult for you, it's difficult for him. I'm sure it's difficult for the people that are running the facility that he is in. It's difficult for your other son, who I'm sure would like to see his brother.
Yeah.
And so you have been asking all of us what can be done about this. And I know you've been out there working it really hard. You're a wonderful advocate. We came across a story that we wanted to cover today. Nancy, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the story is out of Florida, and it's basically that the parents of an autistic son begged Florida Governor DeSantis to lift coronavirus mandate barring visitors in group homes. This is essentially the same thing that Dana is asking to have done. Of course, they understand, these parents of this particular child, Jan and Greg Cawley, who are the parents of Billy Cawley, are saying that they understand the need for caution to protect elderly residents in homes, but this is very different when you have a child with a disability that isn't sick and the parents aren't sick, and they've been now, 4 months dealing with this. So they're asking Governor DeSantis to lift the ban restricting access to visitors. And this is essentially the same thing Dana is requesting, right, Dana?
Well, I'm not requesting a lift of the ban. I understand the protection of the group home. I do not believe that anyone should enter the home, a group home that is responsible for the safety and well-being of multiple clients. I do not feel we should, consider that an option. What I'm asking for, I've had some time to think on it, are what I'm calling well family visits. And there are regional centers all over California with conference rooms, multiple conference rooms. I'm a person who's working, blessed to have a job. Our job sanitizes the areas. They have spraying. We have major protocol in terms of masks. We take actual screenings daily before we come to work. I don't know if you guys are still in your home, but because I work in the media, we have to go to a facility. It's minimal staff. Everybody is respectful. Everybody, even in the break room, we stand far apart. We're masked. We walk in grabbing Clorox wipes, cleaning keyboards, our mouse, door handles, pens. So we're very mindful. I'm asking that some provision be made where the group home can bring their client, our child, to a facility that's already sanitized, and we can come as well and schedule these visits from 1 to 1:55. It's our turn. They sanitize the room at 3 o'clock. It's another family's turn. Well, family visits in environments that are sanitized with protocol preceding these visits. What does the state want to do or ask us to adhere to in order for them to feel comfortable? And I've spoken with Ed White and Tony White, who run the group home where my son Bakari resides. And we've had very emotional talks, not against one another, with one another, because they understand. And it's brought me to tears on many occasions, and they admitted that it's brought them to tears. They're compassionate people as well. They didn't start a group home to keep children away from parents. They understood the need of 24-hour care and knew how to provide it in a wonderful way and allow families to visit. The door has always been open all week long for us. And so to see their clients, people who they care about deeply, not be able to be with their families is very tough on them.
I'm sure it is, Dana. Let me ask you, have you seen in your Zoom visits with Bakari, have you seen any regression because of the lack of contact with you and maybe confusion over this situation?
I couldn't define it for those terms. He's had behaviors during all these weeks twice on camera.
Okay, on camera.
So that's you guys know that's a great ratio.
Right.
So and one time I do believe he reacted to the fact that I'm just tired, I can't see you. It felt that way because with non-speakers, he's learned to be able to point to letterboards. He can't do that through a screen. He hadn't grown to that that level of competency for himself. But prior to all of that, and I've talked to other moms of non-speakers, we use telepathy. I mean, we have friends and family members that we grow close to enough that we can tell what they want because we've been around them, and common sense gives us the answer and they confirm it. And so I believe maybe one of those times he was upset because he was just tired of these Zoom calls and he wanted to see me.
Right.
So Dana, this family has gone directly to the governor of their state. And I know you're such an on it mom. And I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago that You wrote to a bunch of us and said, okay, Hive Mind ladies, like, who do we know? I need some help here.
Yes.
How have things progressed? Because I know we all are feeling for you. And we all want to hear the solution. But nobody had anything for you, at least on my end. I didn't have anything. What have you found out so far? Are you getting any traction? Who were you talking to?
I got a little bit of information from the West Side Regional Center, who has African American / Black family support group, and run by Beverly Hutchinson. And
I know Beverly.
yes, so they were able to follow up with how West Side Regional Center handles it, and they allow families to drive into the driveway and the child be able to come out and speak with the parent. Now, I forwarded that to Northside Regional Center, to our supervisor, and I'm still, following up on that, hoping that maybe that's an option, but that's not really one that Northside is even open to based on the lack of response. So other than that,
would that fit the bill for you if you were able to drive into the parking lot of the home and stay in your car and have him come out and talk to you while you're in the car? Would that be enough for you, or are you wanting more than that?
Oh, I definitely want more, although something,
Better than nothing.
this is the nature of where we are. When you're denied so much, of course you'll take a crumb. Now, will that crumb be productive? Will my son be comfortable just seeing me in a car and not be able to get in the car like he always does?
Right.
Will that cause a tantrum?
Yeah. It's a good point, Dana. It's a really good point.
I want to circle back to Nancy asking about regression.
Yeah.
Forgive me, ladies. I have seen regression in terms of language. He was becoming much more verbal, constantly saying hello all the time. Hi, Mom. If I asked him a yes or no question, always he had a verbal yes or no, and quite a bit of echolalia. Now there's zero.
Okay.
One of our viewers has said that their group home lets parents visit on the porch with social distancing.
And what regional center are they with?
I don't know. I don't even know that they're in the state of California. If that viewer wants to write back in and tell us. But I think that there's a lot of different ideas that are out there of how it, like, I love your idea of having people, meet in a place that's designed for that, but it will involve a bunch of cleaning. And I could just hear people talking about budget. What I love about if there's a picnic table outside the home where parents could come, and with social distancing, then you're outside where we know the transmission possibilities are less, and it doesn't necessarily need to be cleaned in the way that you would have to clean a room. Would that work for you, Vena?
That would be awesome. Although then you're dealing with the natural occurrence of events, which means, will my son sit at that picnic table? He's gonna go wherever he wants. So then, but I'm open to that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I strongly support group homes who are not opening themselves up to visits. I applaud Ed and Tony White for how they've, led by example, following the rules, and even when it hurts them, adhering to protocol that they've been given. Because, many families have taken their children out of group homes, and many group homes have fallen. Just like at the beginning of the pandemic, many people were they lost jobs. Well, when you lose a job, you lose livelihood. Well, families wanted to be with their children. Fear set in. They took their children out of group homes because they were home. Yeah. And these group homes lost their funding. So it's a double-edged sword.
It is. I have to say that I can count 5 different families that I'm aware of right now that have kiddos in group homes where the kiddos have been exposed to and now are diagnosed with COVID.
Really?
Oh,
Yes,
Shocking, Shannon.
five specific different families where that is the case. And fortunately, everyone is doing okay. And, you know, there's been no loss of life. But for me, like, I know what you're going through. Like, that's not what I want to say. I can't imagine what you're going through, Vena. But at the core of it, I appreciate you saying how great it was that they kept those protocols because your child continues to be healthy. I can't imagine what it's like to have your child in a group home and then get the phone call that your child has COVID and be told you can't visit your child and your child is sick. And at least in 2 cases, the children have had to be moved to the hospital and
no.
they can't visit there. And that, to me, I would lose my mind. You'd have to sit on my chest. I couldn't handle it.
Yes, I agree.
And we don't want that. So, you know, I appreciate that you are measured in your requests, Vena, and that you are appreciative of the guidelines for the reason why they're there, but that you're wanting to have it progress because it's also to his detriment for him to not see you. I so appreciate that.
Yeah. And so we have the park option, and it doesn't cost much to sanitize one room. It really
Oh, I know. It's
especially when
you know that's what they'll say.
Especially when you consider many of the employees of these organizations where we're asking to do this have not been paid. Everybody's not being paid. So money's being saved someplace, and testing is becoming more readily available. That's another option to put in place. Couldn't regional center funding come down for everyone to be tested more regularly?
I think these are good points. I think you need to get to the governor with it. I think that's what this family did. And
I want to know who can provide an introduction. I mean, I'd actually enjoy a sit down with Mayor Garcetti and his team. I'd love to be able to visit. They have daily press conferences, they have updates, and I don't hear them talking about our situation. I don't know how we let them know.
Well, this is one way. We put it out there and let people know that you're looking for solutions, and that it isn't just you. There are families in all around the world that are looking for solutions to this. And state by state, I think we got to start coming up. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. But Vena, thank you so much for being such a wonderful advocate for your sons and for taking the time to do this.
More known.
And if anybody has any ideas for Vena, please get in touch with us at the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks so much for being with us, Vena.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Onward and upward, and this too shall pass.
That's right. That's right.
Positive.
Warm mouth to God's ear. Okay, so we
have a special guest today.
We do, and I'd love it if you would introduce her, Nancy.
Okay, well, I've got quite a bio here. Cathy Gott has devoted her professional life to finding solutions for special.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for being with us, Vena.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Onward and upward, and this shall pass.
That's right. That's right.
Positive. All right, once again, Cathy Gott has devoted her professional life to finding solutions for special needs community. She's a member of the Los Angeles County Commission on Disabilities, senior consultant to government relations at ADA, and board member of Cornerstone Housing for Adults with Disabilities and the Spectrum Works. She is the president of Education Spectrum, Inc., a community-based educational and social skills training center for children and adults with autism spectrum disorders. Education Spectrum serves more than 400 families per year in and around the San Gabriel Valley. And if that's not enough, she's one of the founders of Danny's Farm, which employs and serves persons with special needs. Ms. Gott and her husband, Jim, are proud parents of 2 sons, both of whom are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Welcome to the show, Cathy.
And I think she's unmuted.
I'm unmuting and then start my video. So there we go. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. And what a great background.
See you in a while. It's so good to see you. Well, I see you, but not live with you. Hello.
Cathy.
What's that?
So good to have you back on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
We're so
Yeah.
thrilled. And gee, you're such a slouch. It's like you never get anything done, Cathy. You make the rest of us like, I'm like, man, how is she getting all that done? You inspire us. You inspire the rest of us as to what is possible. We always used to say, you know, everybody gets the same 24 hours and we all have the same 24 hours that Mother Teresa had. I'm going to start saying we all have the same 24 hours that Cathy Gott has, right? Because you're getting stuff done. But we invited you to talk about what's behind you, the village. And so let's start with
the perspective is a little off. I have to put the computer, but then I wouldn't be able to see anything. So.
It's okay. It's beautiful, and so are you.
It's really, really, really exciting. Thank you.
Well, what is it? What is the village?
It's not here yet. That is just a rendering, of course. But it will be an inclusive, independent apartment living, but it's so much more than that. But the intention is having a mix of residents on the spectrum, maybe other developmental differences that would be appropriate for the criterion, and then having lots of supports in and around the community that are customized to every individual. So as we all know, with, you know, federal regulations and moving into this wonderful person-centered space where it's not an institutionalized setting, it's not solely people with disabilities. Everything is all about embracing submersion, inclusion, acceptance. I mean, that for me is so beautiful. It warms my heart. And this project, The Village, is all about that. It's all about valuing every human being. Every human being deserves, and, you know, in this time with, you know, social justice being brought to the forefront, all the issues, you know, there are so many inequities and systemic problems, and, you know, all we can do is do our best to exemplify what inclusion looks like, what love and acceptance looks like, and respect, mutual respect. So it's very exciting.
That is exciting.
It's very exciting, Cathy. Tell us where it's located and also the type of opportunities this location will offer for those.
Great, thank you. Well, it's just south of Beverly Hills on Pico near Beverly Drive. And it is, the neat thing is that it's a mixed use. So the first floor is retail, and we can't say yet who's going to be there, but we're working with people who everybody about this project has to embrace the intent behind it and what we're building. So it will provide right there vocational and employment opportunities for residents who choose that particular route. But, you know, it's in the center of a neighborhood, and lots of people out and about, and different, you know, when there's no pandemic, of course, and, you know, shops. And it's about building within that community and beyond, where our residents will feel really embraced and welcomed and change that fabric of that community. So aside from that, there's teaching kitchen, and there's, you know, all opportunities to learn more independent skills. That's what this building is about. And then designed, of course, so that social situations will be encouraged, and you'll have to kind of walk past, let's say, a little nook with some other video game enthusiasts sitting around there, and then your apartment's over there, but you got to walk through there first. So, you know, a lot of encouragement. So we all about friendships and relationships and a community. So I think
this seems really unique. I think a lot of people have looked at the group living situation in lots of different ways, but this seems just really unique and uniquely suited to our population. I imagine that. How long have you guys been working on this?
Well, the idea was really born out of a group of people at ETA, and ETA is a large service provider for adults and have group homes and a variety of different supports out in the community and employment and a lot of wraparound support. So it's been, I think, 5 or 6 years really since it started in the dream phase, and hired a market research company and did focus groups. And then, being that I get to travel with my husband all over the country, I always try my best in every place we go to go look at what's out there, as well as some other board, a lot of people have a lot of input, and there are some great, wonderful pioneers like First Place in Arizona. The thing is, I think why we're not seeing them so much here in LA is that it's very expensive. It's really expensive, which, thanks to philanthropists and foundations in our community that are opening their hearts to this capital campaign, because we couldn't do it without that. We just couldn't do it. And our board is amazing. So as you're probably aware, when the person the company or entity that's managing the property isn't going to be the same people who are providing services to its residents. That's just a safe, obvious way to check and balance. So Cornerstone, of which I'm on the board, is a completely separate entity from ETA, and I don't serve on ETA's board. And then, so this is the first. We hope that once this is up and running, the very next thing we do is start another project and do this all over again, as much as we possibly can. So the need is, as we're moms, and as we age, what is the home life going to look like for our children? And it's, it varies. And this might not be, the solution for everybody. And that's good, because, it's only 64 units, so we can't serve everybody. But it keeps us up at night, and knowing that this is this safe, nurturing, it's not lonely. It's, all those things we worry about. It's gonna get it covered. So it's very exciting.
How has the response from the community been to this, in terms of people that are interested in living there?
We will not have trouble filling it. Thank you. It's been wonderful. And it just shows the need. And I do want to say that I am working with a variety of people in and out of regional center and are in California. And we're so lucky to have these entitlements, and I think we're all used to having services covered. So there will be different options for different situations with families as far as the rent goes, to offset some of those costs and things of that nature. So it's going to be just a range of affordability.
And since this is, your goal is for this to be a part of the community, it's important that the community right now be working and helping and being involved. What can we be doing to make sure that this comes to fruition?
Well, thank you. That's a great question. I hope you'll put up some contact information, because we do have an email address, and then I personally, along with some other people, but I look at all of them and respond every day. So of course, if you're in a position to give to our capital campaign, if we can't build the building, then there will be no village. So that's first and foremost. But as we move into later this year, early next year, we're going to be expanding into a lot of areas of committees. If you're interested in the programming aspect or a fundraising aspect, or being a potential resident, and so There's a newsletter. I mean, everything just started. Cornerstone didn't start until late last year. The board started meeting and was developed, and we found a piece of property, and then we bought it. And I mean, it's just, everything is so new and fresh. And, you know, it's a 3-year construction from, you know, breaking ground, which will be next year. And so it's a great time to get involved in the beginning and throughout. So that'd be wonderful.
So what is your proposed opening date?
2023, and it kind of depends on when we get our permits and everything through, but we're on like the expedited track, and everybody's been great, and, you know, getting everything into the city. And you know, our board president, Cam Baboff, he doesn't have kids with disabilities at all. He's just a lovely man with a huge heart, donated a considerable 7 figures, and is overseeing this project. He's a developer all over the world, built buildings. So I think we're in really good hands with his leadership, along with the other board members. So he knows what he's doing, and it's such an honor to serve on such an important project and meet such brilliant people, and it's been amazing. Very excited.
My breath always gets taken away when I hear about those kinds of people, these wonderful philanthropists that don't have a child on the spectrum, but have decided to put their heart, their time, and their money and invest it in our kids. It just humbles me. And I hope that when you next see this person, that you will tell them that we are sending love, and that they are a light on this planet that gives us all kinds of hope, because that's amazing.
Beautiful. I love that.
Nancy, aren't you the same way? Doesn't it just take your breath away when you hear that?
Absolutely.
Just absolutely. That's what we need more of in the world. And that's a light for everyone to see. So have you already then started a waiting list for people to live there, or what will that look like, Cathy?
Well, there's nothing official, but I would say that we're gathering information from families who are interested, and then talking to them more about their child's needs, or we're talking directly to the individual. So, you know, every building that we will build will have a different flavor, a different goal. Just, you know, this particular project, and a lot of, because of where it's situated, is designed for people who are working and out in the community and independent. It's not locked. You know, I know, like, for example, a mom called me. She said, well, what happens if my son, you know, leaves in the middle of the night? Well, you know, that's his or her, you know, they're free to go. This is not, you know, there's security at the building, but very good 24/7. It'll be safe. But we're not in the business of managing and controlling the residents' lives. Everybody has to have choice, and that thrills us. So it's very empowering when you're an adult and you get to decide where you want to eat, what you want to eat, what time, who you want to spend time with, you know, all of that. It's very important.
Yeah. Nancy, I want to take a second and go over some of the websites, because in our current format with Zoom, it's clunky when we put up a, you know, normally we would put up a lower third. It's a little clunky in our current format that we're doing with COVID. So I want to make sure people know, go to www.thecornerstonevillage.org. So thecornerstonevillage.org, or you can email them at info@thecornerstonevillage.org. They're also on Facebook under The Village by Cornerstone. So remember Cornerstone and Village, and you're going to be able to Google them, find them, email them, like them on Facebook, so that you can keep up on what's happening. But if you are a family, I would think if you're a family and you're wanting to be involved in this, now would be the time to do it. Not wait until the building is made. Get in on the ground floor, be a part of it, help to raise funds, help to be a part of what's happening, and be on one of those committees. I would think that would be the thing to do.
Wonderful. Yes.
And okay. Well, I think that this is absolutely remarkable. And I, I did not know about it. So I'm thanking both of you and thanking Nancy for bringing it to our attention. But as Nancy said in the beginning, we've got a couple of more minutes here. You do so much, Cathy. Like it's just so inspirational. It's dizzying how much you do. And it sounds like everything that you have done is culminated in this project. Is that part of how you got here?
That's a great way of putting it. I love that. And thank you. And I love my work. I mean, it doesn't feel like work. It's my passion, and the people I've met along the way, including the two of you, is so meaningful, and it's my life. This is my life. It's such a part of defining who I am. And, I think when I first started in this industry, because of seeing a need when our kids were early diagnosed and starting out their school years, that's when Education Spectrum was born, because these amazing people and opportunities just needed to come together. And that's been a wonderful thing. And then coming to the teenage years, when I start thinking about what are they going to do vocationally or for work or, post high school, that's when Danny's Farm was born, for our son Danny's, tremendous affinity for animals. And so now we have this petting farm where there are, dozens of adults with a variety of differences that come and they volunteer or they work, or, I mean, it's just beautiful. It's, animals and people, come on. It doesn't get any more beautiful. And then when I got to that kind of those transition years, that's when I started consulting with Etta, and we built a program called Transitions, and then some subsequent programs in partnerships with some community colleges, because I like, what I would like to really get your arms around and explain this need is that the kids from the 90s, the early 90s, are who need all these things now, and there's not enough. And that was when, the incidence of autism was it went from, 1 in 5,000, 1 in 10 to 1 in 5 during the 90s. So it was this, relatively rare developmental disorder. And then it became like, what's happening, and why is this happening? And then it's just, it's just gone like this. So today it's 1 in 54. And back then it was, 1 in 5 or 10,000. And now we have all these adults emerging. Just think 5 years down the road and 10 years down. And just, I mean, it is unbelievable when you really stop to think about how the need for housing, the need for supports, just because you turn 18 or 22 when you exit high school doesn't mean you need any less services. It's not something you outgrow. So I'm just so passionate about adult services, and then having a chance to serve on the County Commission on Disabilities. I mean, talk about an amazing group of people. And I just love it. I just get really thrilled and goosebumps, when I think about it.
Well, I'd love to know more. Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
Tell us a little bit more about your role on the Los Angeles County Commission on Disabilities and what you do there.
Thank you. Well, as you all know, there's lots of disabilities, right? We've got people in wheelchairs and people with hearing and vision and, all kinds of more physical disabilities. So Steve Miller, my predecessor on the commission, had just started a ad hoc committee for the developmentally disabled population, and I co-chair that with Jack, another commissioner, and so we made our priorities employment and housing. So what's been really enlightening and interesting, and I just have so much hope with working with the county, is that everybody, they want to do the right thing. I mean, I feel like the heart is there, the willingness is there. There's just, everybody's so separate, you know. It's like, oh, regional center, that's over there, and county does mental health, and that's over there. And, you know, we've been working, you know, and advocating to get specific carve outs for our population. And, you know, we're making progress. And also with employment, I mean, please get in touch with me with any program that is looking to place people in employment. They have an amazing program where they're modifying the exam to get in, and you can get coaching on your application. And there's wonderful opportunities. The county is the largest employer in Southern California. So we're busy meeting people, uniting people, pulling people together so that everybody's not in their own little silo, and we come together and problem solve. So that's what's going on in the county, and it's been really embraced. It's very exciting.
That's thrilling.
Saying that, I think I probably used the word exciting like 5 times already. And I'm so excited.
I'm good with it. I'm good. Because it is exciting to hear those things. I always like to say that, you know, it's so thrilling when you find out that a whole group of people are working on something and you didn't even know about it. Because it's like, oh, well, maybe there's even going on, right? And you go, there's hope that better minds are working on, because you know that every single parent that is watching this program has at some point worried and said, I don't know if my child's ever going to be able to work, and what's going to happen to my child when I'm not here anymore. Like, right? Isn't that the thing that everybody's awake at 3:30 in the morning thinking about that? And to know that amazing people like you and people that you know are working on it, Cathy, you've been the pioneer whose snowshoes we've all been following for years. And to know that you are still up to all this good, it's just so, it is exciting. Exciting is the right word. So I'm good with the use of the word. People are writing in and saying you're a rock star. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
That's probably my husband.
It isn't, unless he's changed his name. And people may not know who your husband is. Do you want to say who your husband is?
Well, today is a very special day. We're in Philadelphia because my husband, Jim Gott, whom I met over 30 years ago when he was pitching for the Dodgers, is now the bullpen coach for the Phillies. And it's opening day here in Philly.
How exciting.
It's for us, it's bigger than an anniversary. You know, it's opening day. And this is the first time in our marriage that we're not at a ballpark with a club that Jim is a part of and together, because there are no wives or, you know, any spectators at all at the field. So it's weird, it's odd, but you know, we're going to come together for the greater good and bring baseball and minimize risk. I go out as little as possible. So we're all just kind of, they go to the ballpark, come home, and everybody wants to stay healthy. So
That's amazing.
Does that mean you're going to be living in Philly?
We stay, yes, we've been here, this is our 3rd year, but we come home during the off season, but during the season we're here in Philly. And what a great city this is. And they have so many amazing programs here for autism that I've gotten to know, and great people, and oh, what a wonderful, wonderful city. The team is lovely, people, the ownership, everything. I mean, the Phillies, I'm so proud to be in the Philly family. It's great.
Now you and Jim have 2 sons on the spectrum. Can you talk a little bit about them and what they're up to?
Sure. Well, Jim's son, CJ, lived with us in the very early years of our marriage, the first kind of six years, I think. And so he was diagnosed when he was living with us and started, you know, all kinds of interventions and programs. But CJ went back to live with his mom, and has lived with his mom and still lives with his mom in rural Pittsburgh, kind of well, I don't know, it's about an hour outside of Pittsburgh. And CJ is just lovely, just a sweetheart, and he's got, you know, variety of activities and programs, which I'm sure, like everybody else, everything's on hold. But he's happy, he's healthy, and that's CJ. Then Danny is, and CJ's 31 1, and Danny's turning, I cannot believe it, 27 next month. And he works at Danny's farm, which of course now we're doing all kinds of virtual activities, by the way. So if we have so many sponsors that have sponsored programs, we'd love to do more virtual petting farm field trips for our people. So get the word out that we'd love that. We're doing a lot of virtual classes, instruction about animal, just whatever the community needs, we're able to utilize the farm animals remotely. So that's been fun. So Danny's great, CJ's great. There's 4 other children in the clan. And so we have a big family. We have 2 grandkids and 1 on the way, and life is good, really good.
Wow, you do not look old enough to have grandchildren, so there you go.
Yeah.
Well, remarkable. And so when you're in Philly, then your Danny is here because he stays here and works at Danny's farm.
Yeah, Dan used to come quite a bit and visit, but I'll tell you, and I'm proud of all of our kids are being really careful. And Danny doesn't want to get on a plane. I mean, you know, when they shut down spring training, we went home to LA and we got 2.5 months with Danny and Danny's sibling Nick. So that was really special. And then we just, you know, we're all doing our thing. So yeah.
So again, you know, if people want to know more about any of the things that we've been talking about, but most specifically about the village, I probably should go through those websites again, and I don't know what I've done with them. Hang on 1 second. No, they're not there. I'll find them. I put them away, and I don't know what I did.
I can call them up, Shannon.
Can you? I don't.
Yes.
I have so many windows open, and I don't know where I've put
Right.
them.
The website is www.thecornerstonevillage.org, and then you can email info@thecornerstonevillage.org. You can also go to Facebook for the Village by Cornerstone, and Instagram, the Cornerstone Village. So
And
thecornerstonevillage.org is the website.
Okay, but if they want to know more about Etta or about Danny's farm, is there a Cathy Gott website where it's all at, or do we go to each individual thing?
You know, there isn't, but I think what I'll do is I'll put it in the comments.
Okay, great. That'd be fabulous.
And I'll just send you some links, and then you can put it all together at some point. So that
all
would
right.
be great.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, especially on opening day. I didn't even think about that when we asked you about
this is just a great day. I mean, this is my world, and I get to share it with you today. It's so special. And of course, Jim was just bouncing off the walls this morning. Couldn't wait to get to the yard. So
that's awesome. Well, you are a light for us, and thank you so much for all that you do, because it's so inspirational for all of us, and you've paved the way for so many of us. So thank you so much, Cathy.
Thank you. Cathy. Thank you for doing what you do and helping spread all this great stuff. So very appreciative.
Have a wonderful opening day. Our best to Jim. And
thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, just so inspirational. It
really gives you hope. You know, you think about what's out there for our kids, and we all, as you say, this is one of the issues that keeps us awake at night as parents. And it's just very hopeful that there are all of these new solutions out there and new solutions on the horizon coming every day.
Yes. And you know, we always talk on the show about the power of one. And when Jem was little, there was that, you know, that DVD, the movie. It didn't get very good reviews, but we loved it. He loved it. It was a movie, animated movie called Robots, and had some good music in it. I really recommend it. It's a very good show. But there's this whole thing. The theme of the show is, if you see a need, fill it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a young man who sees that the world needs to work a different way, and he doesn't know how to go about it, and he has to go through this, you know, and he's a robot, and he has to go about it changing the world because he sees a need. And I loved that lesson for my child. And, you know, I mean, you and I have sort of lived by that too over the years. When we've seen a need, I think if you stick around in the autism community long enough, everybody finds their niche. And over again on the show, we show and feature people who found their niche, all these wonderful autism parents who, you know, one might write children's books, or another might raise money for grants like you have done in your life. Or I started a radio show that then later on, you know, we started doing Autism Live. Everybody sort of finds their piece of the pie. It's just amazing to see that Cathy has done that like 8 times.
Right.
Every time because when she inherited the world of autism, it was like getting to the promised land and there's nothing there.
Right.
You know, I love Reverend Beckwith always says, you know, people want to get to the promised land, but they forget that when people got to the promised land, there were no curtains, there were no buildings, right? So Cathy would get to the promised land of autism and say, oh, there's nothing for my child, so I guess I'll create it. And that I always respect and admire that, but for Cathy, it sounds like, you know, at every phase she had to invent it. But thank goodness for her, because so many of us came behind. And that, you know, in my community, Emily Island had lived in my community with a child on the autism spectrum 10 years before I ever got there. So by the time my child was diagnosed with autism, I didn't need to go and create a program with the police to get them to understand that kids with autism wander. That was already done for me. So I could just check that box and move on. You know what I mean? So it's wonderful to live in Cathy Gott's community because Cathy's creating stuff. Makes me want to run to catch up. Do you feel that way? Like you're like, what am I doing?
Right.
Well, we're doing our own thing. We're doing our own thing.
Right. She's so proactive, and she's done so many things to help our community.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And now I love that I didn't even have to ask her. You didn't have to ask her. It was like, okay, so you're building this in Los Angeles, but what next? She's already got the plan to build them all over the place.
Right.
So how exciting is that?
64 units are going to fill up very fast. And that's the problem. There's still not a lot out there for our kids in terms of living situations. So.
But I love that there are businesses on the ground floor so that it does create an opportunity to work and to be a consumer. I mean, you know, I love living more in suburbia, and I also don't mind living in more rural areas. But one of the things I loved as a young person about living in New York City was, you know, my friend lived above a pizza parlor, and you know, dinner was always available, very inexpensively, and it was how we lived. And you were within walking distance of where you worked, and you know, where you purchased your vegetables and you ate your dinner. And I remember that being a very great time as a young person. And I love picturing individuals on the autism spectrum having that opportunity right there where they live, with people who have an understanding of who they're sharing space with. That seems very exciting to me. We had another news story that we were going to cover at the beginning, and we ended up taking time with Vana. But yes, we've got about 4 minutes left, and I'd love to just talk about it briefly. That there is a new show on Netflix. I haven't yet been able to watch it, but I'm excited about it. It's a show that was in the making for a really long time. Have you had the opportunity to see it yet?
I haven't had the opportunity to see it.
It's getting great reviews.
Great reviews. It's called Love on the Spectrum. And it said at first sight, it appears to be an Australian version of the Undateables without the crude name, because it follows the lives. And I haven't seen the Undateables either. I don't know.
I had heard about it, but I had not seen it.
Right. But this appears to be an Australian version of it. And it says it's following the dating lives of people on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
And apparently it's incredibly well done. The couples that they follow are endearing and have a lot to offer in terms of opening up our perceptions of what love is like for young people on the spectrum. So I'm really excited to take a look at it.
I'm excited to take a look at it too. I mean, there have been several other shows about love when somebody is on the autism spectrum. And, those have been exciting too. Most of them, the people had already met and had been through the dating phase and were deciding if they wanted to be together. And that was wonderful and endearing. What I love about the idea about this one is that, they go on a date and they see that, okay, this is not the right person. And so I'm going to date somebody else. And I don't think we have had that kind of a situation featuring folks on the spectrum. I haven't seen it. And I think that that's really exciting, because I think the closest that we've come to it is the other show on Netflix, why am I not thinking, the Penguin one? What is the name of that show? I can't think of the name. With Sam, he loves penguins. Our good friends are the producers of it. I can't think of the name of it. Help me, you guys. I'm having a senior moment.
I can't think of the name of it either, Shannon.
It's not The Good Doctor. It's the other one, Sam and the Penguins. What the heck is the name of it, you guys?
Atypical?
Atypical. Thank you. All I could see was the A and I couldn't see anything else. I totally had a senior moment. But in that, we get to see Sam dating people, but that's a fictitious show. And that's only focusing on one person. So there's only so much, but even that, I loved having that so that it put a baseline for people to start talking about dating. But I'm really excited about seeing this show. And the thing that I'm hoping is that the individuals that were a part of the filming were well treated, because I've heard some complaints from other, not Atypical at all. Everybody's been great on Atypical, but some of the other shows that were done about love in the autism community, I've heard some complaints about the filming process, that it was particularly hard for the participants. So I'm hoping that it went well. What we've heard is that the families are featured, and how much the families love their kids on the spectrum who are doing the dating, that is front and center and featured, how important it is to have support. So I'm really glad that that's there. Now we're almost out of time, but Rosina's written in and said, what's the advice you can give to someone who wants to start this job? And I don't know which job you were particularly talking about, but if you are looking, you can email me, s.penrod@autism-live.com. Because I want to know specifically what you were talking about. And so thrilled that you're here with us. And someone else said, are there group homes for high functioning individuals on the autism spectrum in New York and Long Island? And I'm not aware of anything, but I can tell you that there's a great resource page on Autism Speaks, where you can go to look at living situations. I don't know that there is right now for high functioning in the New York City area. But we'll look into it. We'll definitely look into it. But it's a thing that's time has come, right? There should be. I know that in New York City, there is a group, not a group home, but there is a group that is just for women on the spectrum. It's like a secret society in that you can't be a part of it unless you're invited to join, but it is, I know people that participate in that group, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. There's some very high functioning people who, are doing great, and they're sharing information with other young women. And that's a fabulous thing. But other than that, I'm not entirely aware, but we'll look into it. All right, we are totally out of time.
Yes.
But I wanted to give a programming update for next week. On Monday, we've got Bonnie Yates, and we're going to be talking about education and what everybody should be doing right now so that you're having your IEP meetings to get your distance learning plans pinned down. Like, that's what needs to be happening in the beginning month of August. Then on Tuesday, I'm very excited about this. We thought it was going to be on Friday. It's not going to be on Friday. On Tuesday, we are having Karen Nolte and Leah Hirschfeld is going to be with us from the research department at CARD, and they're going to be presenting on research about distance learning, education. about what works, what doesn't work, so that we can have some sort of awareness when we're at those meetings with our school district about what works and what doesn't work. So that's wonderful. I am told that we definitely have Dr. Grampiche back on Wednesday, that she is going to be with us on Thursday. Dr. Evelyn Gould is going to be with us. She used to be a regular on the show. She finished her doctorate. She's now Dr. Gould. And she's going to be talking with us about acceptance, commitment, therapy, and how great it is for families and individuals on the autism spectrum. And I'm going to be taking off the next few Fridays. And so we're going to be playing some reruns of Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and just for the month of August. But then we will be back in September with some more shows. So I got to take off a few Fridays here, and I apologize to Nancy for it, because Nancy's awesome.
No problem, Shannon.
But I appreciate your patience, everybody. Got to spend some time with the boy. We got to get ready for the senior year here. So thrilled to be here with all of you guys. Thank you so much, Nancy, for being here. We wanted to thank Cathy and Vana for being.
Vana's already written to me saying thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, she is so awesome.
Yeah.
What a privilege to be with three such amazing women during the show. We are going to be back on Monday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And give yourselves a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.